Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Learn How to Put the Data You're Already Capturing to Work for You. I'm Teresa Resick, Director of Webinars here at AIIM, and AIIM is your host and producer of today's event. And with me today are Harvey Spencer from Harvey Spencer Associates, and we also have David Jeunesse of IBM. And IBM is the underwriter of today's webinar, and we thank them for their support. And thank you for taking the time to join us today. And before we get started, just want to offer a few pointers for viewing today's webinar. By joining our webinars live, you can customize your own viewing experience. So feel free to open, close, or resize the different windows. And across the bottom of your screen is a list of all the widgets that are available to you today. You can download a PDF of the presentation at any time. Just look to the resources list, and that's located to the right side of the slide area. There's also a few other documents and links in there to help you learn more about today's topic. Feel free to ask questions throughout the hour using the Q&A feature. We will hold these until the end, where we should have about 5 or 10 minutes to answer them. And this webinar is being recorded, and it will be posted to AIIM.org's Resource Webinars page in just a few days. And now I'd like to introduce our speakers that we have with us today. Pleased to have Harvey Spencer. And Harvey has an extensive background acquired over 35 years, and it's in operations, programming, systems analysis, and strategic planning for IT hardware and software. And since 1988, he has specialized in the document capture for high-performance electronic document management systems. And founded in 1989 and based in metropolitan New York, Harvey Spencer Associates, his company, has become the leading analyst firm focused on analyzing the worldwide market for capture software. And we also have David Jeunesse, and David is a writer and public speaker who specializes in communicating the benefits of new technologies to business decision makers. And at IBM, he develops the messaging strategy for the ECM division, and he writes executive speeches and videos and produces IBM live events. And prior to 2010, Mr. Jeunesse performed a similar role with capture pioneer DataCap for 12 years. David is also a playwright with productions that have been performed off-Broadway, and his book, America on Display, profiled America's most unusual museums and collections. So right now, I'm going to turn things over to Harvey Spencer to kick things off and start our discussion today about document capture. Harvey?
Thank you very much, Teresa. I thought I'd first, we originally had a title of this to how to put your customers' data to work for you, but we decided to broaden it because the term customer, I think, is misleading, and depending on which vertical you're in, you may not have customers. You may have all sorts of other people who are basically customers to you. But it also includes suppliers. It includes investors, interestingly, and includes staff internally. So I regard capture software and the way this is starting to work as being relevant to all stakeholders in an organization. But basically, to make it useful and valuable, you've got to identify who is the user, what is the data that's relevant to that user, what is its value, because obviously in certain circumstances it has some value, and in other circumstances it has less value. And who is that valuable to you, too? And sometimes the answers aren't clear. The idea of capture software as it's developing and cognitive capture, which we're talking about, is to try to make those answers clear. So today, most capture software rests on taking documents or document formatted inputs in paper, email attachments, fax, put them through a capture engine, and then drive out of that into storage, compliance, records management, case management for things like claims, onboarding, offboarding, customer experience, relationship, and in some cases accounting. I thought that we start with traditional ECM scan and index solutions. What I'm surprised about in a lot of ways is that you say the words capture, and I talk about the words capture, and immediately everybody thinks, oh, that's scanning a bit of paper, isn't it? And traditionally it was. And it solved the problem that this poor guy has of looking at a pile of paper and trying to find it quite effectively. Now, sometimes we don't index it entirely correctly, and then you have to resort to search engines. But basically, we have improved the efficiency of finding paper dramatically. So currently on our surveys, most of the business that is going to the capture industry has been paper-oriented. We find that the input devices of scanners, MFPs or copiers or MFDs, whatever you want to call them, but basically networked shared copier devices, and fax, which is effectively a remote scan, accounts for something over 50% of revenue going into capture software. Email has been increasing substantially. I think we're all drowning on email. And the problem is you have to go through it because you're not sure whether somebody's made a change or a note. Somebody may have copied you where I thought that you'd just have a copy of this and somebody else done the same thing, so you're getting huge replication. The challenge is to sift through this efficiently. So email in capture, I think, can help you substantially reduce that volume. And we're starting to see more increase in mobile capture. And we see in the future that it's going to spread to still images, to video, and to other things like social media, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Because in today's day and age, you can't differentiate incoming information, data, if you will, between one type of source and channel versus another. It has to be multi-channel, multi-source. So why do we extract the data? This was a slide that IBM created, which I quite liked. We basically today use simple OCR in order to extract relevant information for the process. These are invoices, as you can see, to search and find to be able to process the information manually. But what's happened under invoice processing is we've started to get much more clever and extract meaningful data and put those into ERP systems, accounting systems, whatever. And from that, we have gotten to a certain amount of office automation where, coupled with a procure to pay, an incoming invoice can balance against the purchase order, can balance against the documents as a three-way match, and literally approve the invoice for payment without a human. Normally people then go through a final approval, and there's cash flow implications, of course, but basically it's automated the invoice capture process. The sorts of documents we're seeing are a mass of different documents, but some of them I put up here for reference: proposals, new customer or patient onboarding, applications, collateral and references, contracts, etc., etc., etc. Most sources of documents are from known entities, people who we have a relationship with, or companies that we have a relationship, organizations that we have a relationship with, and who are known to others that we can get references from. And in ECM systems, we tend to process mostly known paper documents or paper-related documents, even if they're delivered via electronics, from these customers and related entities. And we might call these known unknowns, known knowns. And so when I was going through this, putting together this presentation, I was reminded of Donald Rumsfeld's famous comments on understanding information, which I thought I might play back to you, and it may remind you a little bit.
There are reports that there is no evidence of a direct link between Baghdad and some of these terrorist organizations.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But
so I stopped it there, but you can get the point. There are many documents or parts of information received by or relevant to a business that we don't know. We had a presentation last year at my conference on PDFs. So PDF stands for Portable Document Format, as you know, but the term document in that context has broadened into many different items. It can contain voice records, it can contain video clips, it can contain CAD drawings, all sorts of other things, but they're still under the heading or umbrella of a PDF. So as Don Rumsfeld pointed out, we have known knowns coming in, we have known unknowns, we have unknown knowns, and we also have unknown unknowns. The challenge is now to make those understandable. But I thought at first we'd just sort of comment on what are these. Known unknowns basically are documents that we know, but we don't know what the true value is in association with the business need for that particular document. For instance, a contract may have, maybe in legal, but it may have big implications in certain other areas in the company. Workflow traditionally handles that, but in cognitive capture environment, we're going to be integrated as a series of processes driving dynamic workflow, so things may change depending upon what we extract and how we extract it. Another area that he referred to, unknown knowns, basically documents that we receive and wonder why it's there. I had a classic case where I was doing some work for the Canadian government, and for that I had to have a document issued by the government, which is about 6 pages long, saying that that I could receive money from the government. And I turned up at a small border post in northern Maine and handed over my 6-page document to the border postman, who looked at it and he said, "Oh, I haven't seen anything like this before," and proceeded to spend the next 10 minutes going through each page rather carefully to read it before waving me through. And in the meantime, of course, we had a large pile of cars piling up behind me, waiting to get into Canada. Not a terribly good example of customer service, but it's an example, I think, of why unknown knowns can have a negative impact on your customer service and your business. We need to know these things faster. And then, of course, we have unknown unknowns. Well, I've never seen this before, and I haven't got a clue what it is or why it's here or what I should do with it. And analytics starts to give you the clues that we can start to make those known documents. But of course, many of them, there's all these different inputs that you've got to deal with. And it's critical that we understand this and we know this, because we need to get a holistic view of a customer or an activity. And to do that, we require access to not only current data, but all the historical data that's needed for perspective. And I think too often in this world we're in at the moment is we're looking at electronic data that is pretty new, and we're not looking in detail enough at some of the historical data which can give better clues as to what our business is and where we should be going and what decisions we should be making. And within these quote-unquote documents, which, as I say, can be tweets, they can be social media, they can be all sorts of things, there is often important business information that we need to use to better manage our business, to reduce risk, to enhance customer service, to do it in a more timely way, and also to make sure we are complying. And we've got to do it quickly. We have to do it quickly because customers do not have patience these days. Nobody has any patience. And in the meantime, while we're making decisions, things have often changed. So I think technology has to step up to this immediacy of need in a lot of different cases. User departments such as yourselves are starting to understand and use their unknown documents to extract the meaning and make this useful. In terms of mining old documents, what we're beginning to see now is in the healthcare space where hospitals are looking through old patient data for clues to cancer or other diseases. In insurance, companies are starting to analyze old claims data in order to reduce the risk and create more accurate pricing and hopefully to offset risk as well. Customer understanding. We see correspondence, email, social media needing to be extracted and being extracted to extract intent and satisfaction levels. And finally, cross-selling services. In the case of a banking loan, as an example, you may request collateral information, things like other bank statements, things like savings accounts, and so on. That may give a clue to other bank accounts that a customer may have, which allows you to hopefully upsell to more accounts. And likewise, you may get a picture that the person has quite a lot more wealth than you thought he had, because you were only getting part of his information in your particular bank, and therefore you can make a note to sell him wealth management systems at some stage. I also came across recently a new little startup company doing a receipt analysis to pass to banks for spending patterns. Apparently they don't get from the credit cards all the information that they would like to get regarding spending patterns. And of course, if somebody spends cash, they don't get that. So the idea is you can capture a receipt, you can put that into expense management system automatically, and you get it free because the banks get more information. But key behind all this is classification, which is really the cornerstone of understanding or making unknown information known. You have to classify the information before you can do very much more. So I thought it might be useful to run through what we're currently doing in classification. Image classification, pretty simple, but we incidentally didn't do it initially. It's the situation where if you imagine holding up a document at 10 feet away, you can't actually discern exactly what's in the document, but you can probably see that it's probably an invoice, or it is probably a piece of correspondence, or it's something else, it's a resume or something like that. So that is high-level image classification. It sort of sets a scene of this is the type of box that this document will fit into. And then we followed that with textual classification, which relies on OCR. So in this situation, we OCR the whole of the document, the text in the document, and then we start looking at what's actually in there in terms of words and content. Part of that has been expanded into proximity classification. So we look for clues that surround the text. For example, in an invoice, you may have a field that's labeled invoice number, and then something's typed in the box. So what we do is look for the proximity of invoice number, and then can automatically extract and label the invoice number from it. Commonly used now in invoice processing. But you can see how that can apply to all sorts of other document types. We have started to get into language classification. OCR now supports most major languages, and we can identify what languages and currencies are being used, and hopefully not be able to have to sort out documents that are in a foreign language and separate them out at cost of document prep. And likewise, as they come in through an electronic data stream, we need to automate that in order to figure out who we route them to, as well as extract the information. Then we are starting to get into semantic classification. What is the topic and what is the intent of the content of this document? And finally, at the moment, we're into sentiment classification. How did the sender feel about things? Interesting technology starts to get very challenging when you're dealing with foreign languages or foreign cultures. As you can probably hear from my accent, I originally came from Britain back 40-some years ago to the US, but I still have some cultural issues associated with sentiments. You know, for example, you may say, "Oh, that's nice." And a simple sentiment analysis document may proceed to say, oh, this person feels really good about our product, and put them on the list of references. Not probably a good idea. So you have to get into more detailed understanding in order to get into good sentiment and that classification, particularly when dealing with sarcasm. I was quizzing IBM, incidentally, on this, who claims they have a wonderful solution to sarcasm in different cultures and classifications with Watson. I'm looking forward to actually testing it. But classification accuracy is interesting. When you start talking, depending upon how simple the documents are, how simple the process is, humans tend to top out at about 60%, but it very much depends upon their training and pay scale. Basic classification sort of thing I put up on the list there, image and text-based, tops out at about 80+%, classically at the moment. But once we start adding the cognitive capture capability, semantic and sentiment analysis, we can increase the accuracy to 95% or over. And we recently had a presentation at my conference from a major US bank who was looking at mortgage processing. And they felt that on the classical classification, they were getting 80-some%, but when they added semantic understanding, they were claiming they could demonstrate their accuracy going up into the upper 90s. Interesting use of semantic understanding, which you don't necessarily think about. And it works in this particular situation because there's a lot of forms that are very similar, and so the classification engine say, well, I'm not too sure about this, you better look at it. But then once we start getting into cognitive capture, we start to expand into the unknown unknowns and know those. And we can look at this en masse. We can apply capture technologies to extracting information and start to discern patterns and build dashboards or output screens based upon those patterns and build a database of known documents that then we can apply to in a reiterative fashion. I just took this from IBM to make a point. I think it's pretty frightening. We basically don't know what we're doing a lot of the time. We're making decisions based upon information that we don't have. Big data is overwhelming us. We've got documents, paper documents down to a pretty fine art, but we haven't got understanding of more information. So we need to get into the situation of where we can change unknowns into knowns in order to do a better job of making decisions. And it's got to be done quickly because business doesn't wait. So we see capture as managing incoming business data, which may be completely mixed up in one data stream. It may be from paper, it may be email, fax, images. We're looking into video understanding, into voice connections where a text may be annotated with the voice, a video picture may be annotated with the voice. We're looking into text with a picture of a document, looking into social media understanding, getting connected into the capture system wherever it affects compliance, records management, analytics, transaction, supplier, customer relations, and interfaces with structured data and drives more structured data. And it's starting to happen. In 2012, insurance companies started to allow the electronic reporting claims, and thousands filed claims in Hurricane Sandy, but most of them, I think pretty much all, had to be looked at manually. But some insurance were monitoring social media. About 7 million Twitter traffic feeds while that was going on was information related, which has direct impact on risk management and how do you offset that and how do you manage your customer relationships better. I thought this was an interesting situation. The demonstration I saw at the IBM booth, interestingly, at CeBIT last year. And what had happened was a young lady had seen a nice little cottage like this, and decided she really wanted to buy it but wasn't sure she could afford it. And she tweeted this. IBM had then picked up the tweet, and next time, well, the IBM software picked up the tweet, and next time she logged onto her bank account, it was displaying an advertisement for a mortgage. Now, my reaction to that was, well, you sort of missed the point, IBM. What you should have done is displayed a more completed mortgage form, or completed as far as you could based upon what you understood about the person, and you should then have been able to you should be able to say, okay, if you want to borrow more, so then please click on some form of collateral information that will show you have more income. And then, utilizing capture software in real time, update that form so that the customer service then improves dramatically. She gets a much faster level of service. She can go back to the realtor and know how much she can offer on this house and know what she can afford. Fascinating software, just very, very powerful capability. So what we're trying to do with capture, we're trying to make our unknowns known. And regardless of whether we know it initially, whether it's I know what I don't know, but I do know where to find the answers, whether it's I know we have a bunch of information out there, but this will tell me where I can find it, and it will find it, or we'll run the analytics, see what pops up, which is what happens today. We want to be able to run the analytics and know what is the results of what we see are popping up. So the conclusion I'd really like to leave you with is that next generation of capture software, cognitive capture, is cloud-based software. It has to be cloud-based because this type of technology obviously utilizes very high amounts of processor power. You need to be able to prioritize it, depending upon what the information is, who the customer is, and or what the need is and when it's needed. In a customer engagement management system, for example, as the sort of thing I was talking about with the lady who wanted to buy a house, a beach cottage, she needs to know there and then. She's not interested in waiting half an hour or whatever. If you've got a customer on the phone and you want him to be able to take a picture of something to verify his ID or to capture more information regarding a claim or something like that, then you need to be able to do that while he's there. You can't put him on hold for 10 minutes or whatever. That is just unacceptable in the future. So, but the cognitive capture part of this becomes critical because it makes the unknowns known and it can then put your customers' data to work for you. Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over to David from IBM, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that, some of the applications that IBM has been installing in the area of cognitive capture to make this usable and the unknowns known. Thank you. David.
Well, thank you, and what a wonderful foundation to tell some stories. My job today, aside from scanning the horizon for aircraft, apparently, with my binoculars, is to provide some examples to support Harvey's premise and examples from the real world. So in my perch here at IBM, I have the good fortune to get to know IBM customers and to see their applications and see how they're using our solutions to solve business problems. So I'm going to give you some real business use cases that are being used today to find the known unknowns and the unknown knowns and everything in between. So a lot of customers don't necessarily want us to use their name. They don't want the competitors to know, who they are, or they don't want to be seen as endorsing a vendor. But I can guarantee you these are all real stories, and to the best of my ability, I got some real metrics to put the details behind it. So, all right, let's talk about an organization that came and presented last year at our annual conference in October out in Las Vegas. And I know Harvey was in the audience. I know he was impressed with this. It's a cancer research center. And the story they told last year was about essentially about the benefits of digitization. So here you have an institution at the front lines of cancer research and treatment, and they're still mired in the world of paper. They found that, they're using, they put DataCap in, use intelligent capture to digitize medical records. Now, cancer patients come in and they try to do a total analysis of the patient, and putting together medical records on paper often is a stack of paper taller than the patient. So we're talking about a lot of paper per patient. And so obviously this is not a way to develop a holistic view of a patient. So the first benefit that they reported to us last year was just the simple ability to rapidly search and retrieve patient information, the ability to simultaneously work on files with clinicians and specialists. And all of that's great, but that's been the promise of intelligent capture for a long time. So we were delighted to see it on this scale. But this year, they're coming back to our conference this year in October again to present really what they're calling their cognitive journey. And they are because now everything is digitized, now they're able to take advantage of Watson Oncology and a lot of the Watson tools to improve and provide cognitive-based treatment and research. The ability to look for and find key data across a patient's entire medical history to apply, ongoing and growing knowledge to treatment, and to do it with the power of analytics behind it. Now, they couldn't even begin to think about this until they digitized, until they captured, until they have all of the data from the medical records. But now they are going to be an excellent example of our topic today. And they're going to actually be saving lives doing that. And they've begun it. We're going to hear the results in October. But this is really the potential we have. And we talk about customers. We're talking about patients. And the benefit being better care and better knowledge shared with the world. So, all right, well, that's pretty dramatic to go and save lives with information. But a lot of organizations are in the business of delighting customers, and you can save your business if you can improve the ability to understand the customer and deliver what it is they're looking for. And you can separate yourselves quite a bit. So here's a story. Again, they're coming out to our conference to talk about it. It is a major telecom company in Europe that offers European and Asian companies an outsourcing option for customer management. And so their great competitive advantage now is the use of intelligent capture and mobile capture. They're using DataCap, and they're offering. They've already got a number of customers up and running, and they're offering real advantages. So capture is their differentiator. Already, some of their customers are in retail, in telecom. They're using it themselves, or in financial companies, and a lot of the burden there is on the onboarding process. So if you're applying for some kind of financial product, you need to supply a lot of documentation and proof of identity, so the ID cards and the financial documentation. So they're able to use mobile capture, so you don't have to come into the branch to do this, to open an account. Much more convenient for customers, much more of a better customer experience. They can do a deeper analysis of the documents that they're bringing in and extracting the information and understanding the customer better, and build a detailed profile of who these customers are to make quicker decisions, better decisions, and again, deliver a better experience. So they're seeing 80% faster processing. We see some benefits here. They believe this system will pay for itself easily within 2 years. So it's a nice story to talk about, and they're able to scale it across a lot of companies and build a business around this particular use case. All right, let's take the same concept and apply it to citizen service. And I've got one particular DMV, a state DMV in mind that I'm talking about, but I know that there are quite a number of U.S. states that use DataCap to improve the DMV experience. And that, I'll put that in quotes, because the DMV experience has always been a pathetic joke. Long lines, waiting for hours, unpleasant people, and so forth. So if you can speed up this process of making sure licenses and the registrations are up to date, you can really get a customer benefit. So in some of these cases, some of the states, they're using capture in kiosks so that you can walk up, renew your registration, renew your license, scan your own document, get that information into the system yourself, so you don't do that with an unpleasant human being behind the counter. And in fact, many of these things you can self-service. So the information that you can pull from other systems, the safety department has your driving record and all of the other information they need. All of this is integrated now, so that the whole process can move much quicker. You can get in and out of the DMV a lot faster, and that's really is the goal here. So, all right, I got another story for you, and now we're going to move into the world of financial services, and really with what Harvey's talking about is hitching intelligent document capture to a big data and analytics strategy, and all to reveal deeper truths about customers, citizens, patients. Okay, so that's really our thesis here today, and here is an excellent example. So this is a national major credit union, and this is how they describe what they're doing. They're applying big data and analytics to documents. And they'll also be coming out to our conference in Las Vegas to tell this story. And what they've done is build a visualization tool so that their branch managers, their customer-facing people, their IT people, can, with DataCap sitting underneath the hood and the ECM repository, in this case, FileNet Content Manager, and all of the data that they have captured and that they have or that they're currently capturing can be viewed and patterns can emerge so that they can quickly recognize trends and opportunities and see problems and issues arising and resolve them, but based on data, not based on gut feel. For example, one person at the bank said, do you know that if you people who pay their bar tabs with a credit card are more likely to default on a loan? Now this is, who would know this except if you had studied data and saw trends and patterns, you would understand. Now, of course, everybody's saying, geez, how did I pay my bar tab yesterday? But the thing is that happens to be an interesting data point that you can find by mining through data and through credit card bills and so forth. So here's a great example of that kind of understanding. Now, are you going to deny somebody a loan because they've done this? No, but if you put enough of these red flags together, you might say this person is a little bit more of a risk in terms of giving them a loan. So it's a nice example of, as I say, that big data and analytics approach to data that you've extracted off of your documents. And they use it also to see problems that are arising and get them resolved before they become real serious. And then, of course, all of the reporting, performance reviews, and development of best practices is drawn from this data that they now have access to. So ultimately, they're able to make better decisions for the business and better decisions for customer satisfaction. All right, let's go and look at another financial services example. And here's a major United States bank that incidentally is also coming to our conference in October. This bank is a major user of ECM solutions. Yeah, Harvey, just a little subtle promotion of our conference. Anyway, these ECM solutions, they have probably 25, 30 different case manager examples in different parts of the business. The story I want to tell is about their transaction banking department. And they put together a project and they said, here's what we want to do. The objective of this project is to shorten new customer onboarding time because it was often frustrating, it was error prone, and it just took too long. And so they've integrated DataCap, IBM Case Manager. They've got an e-signature solution in here. They're using mobile case manager. There's a whole bunch of stuff and a lot of analytics embedded. And these onboarding processes are quite complicated. And they have a concept, this is common to most banks, called not in good order, NIGO. And what it means is they don't have all the documents they need to actually approve a loan or approve a transaction. There's something missing. And a lot of time is spent going, well, what's missing? Or do I have everything I need? They've dramatically accelerated this because they have certain rules, cognitive rules that say, okay, we have this, we don't have that. They can quickly identify what's needed to finish the thing and move it along much more quickly. So they've automated this whole where do I stand process, this NIGO process. And this accelerates so that if certain clients are falling behind, they can move it to the front of the line and put extra attention on it. So it's a pretty cool solution. But you can see how these analytics that analyze known unknowns and unknown knowns, to quote Harvey, and let us know where we stand in this process of gathering data can make a large difference. So let me tell you one more story, and then we'll begin to think about questions. So here's another example from the world of government social services. And so the Hawaiian Department of Social Services has branches, offices scattered across the islands, and they had a very tedious paper-based process just a couple of years ago. They engaged with Imagine Solutions, which has a great MFD capture tool called NCapture. They connected it to DataCap, and they connected it to Case Manager to build this solution that allows them to much more quickly onboard a citizen, find out what it is that they need in terms of services, and deliver those services. It was taking days before. They can do it in hours now. 90% of new cases are processed in the same day. They also had a fraud problem where some people were taking advantage of the system because if you can apply for, I need some financial help on this island, get over to the next island and apply in the other office, you could end up with 2 checks. But now, by making it all a real-time system, as soon as they've captured it, it's immediately put into the case online, virtually. A caseworker could identify, hey, you've already applied for this, 2 hours ago. This is a duplicate. We're not going to move forward with this. So you can see the benefit here of this kind of rapid capture connected with case management, so that data can be put into a context. And so they're seeing now 31% improvement in the time it takes to process a case, and they cut back on that fraud. And they're delivering on their mission, which is to help those people that need help. And that's really what they're supposed to be doing. So you've heard Harvey talk about cognitive capture. It's a term that we're able to, it helps us talk about a new product we released in 2015 called DataCap Insight Edition, which is intelligent capture with DataCap, and it has Watson analytics embedded into it to do some very advanced analysis of a document, to read the document. So Harvey was talking about classification. And in order to classify a document in the old days, you would, not that long ago, you would visually look at it and say, this is a HUD statement, and you put all your HUD statements in one pile, and then this is a mortgage application. You put all your mortgage applications in one pile. And then you would put separator sheets, and you would, all of this is very tedious, very time-consuming. And so this manual sorting process goes away when you're able to identify what that document is based on a number of factors, by reading it, by looking at the context, by looking at the layout. You can apply all of these rules and basically just put in a whole mortgage application of 200 documents, and all of those documents can be sorted, put into the right classified in the right way so we know what they are, and then we can begin to act on them. Take it another step further, and you can capture contracts and letters, correspondence that previously you would just store and retrieve them. You would say, this came in on this date. You put an index on for date. You might put an index on for the person who wrote the letter. Maybe you'd grab one or two more fields, but you wouldn't know anything about the document. Now we can actually know everything that's on that letter, on that contract. We can extract all of these different elements of data and then do something with them. What are the addresses mentioned here? What are the companies mentioned in this letter? What are the dates that apply to this letter? What are the email addresses? And then begin to make some decisions. But now we have the information. We never would have had it before. It's very interesting to see this stuff happen. So currently it supports 8 languages: English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Swedish. This has certainly garnered a whole lot of interest from IBM customers. And what we've been talking about and what Harvey's been talking about, is this new era of analytics, where analytics is embedded in everything. I mean, it's throughout your car. You have little lights that come on when your tires go down and all, that's analytics. Well, now imagine in your capture system and in your ECM system, analytics that you can apply to business processes, predictive analytics that can say, this claim is highly likely to be a fraud claim because of certain things that it's matched against in the analytics engine. Social media analytics, which Harvey talked about, the ability to go and read and get sentiment from your social media or your Twitter. Content analytics, I just described some of the aspects there. Watson and the ability to learn and to refine its intelligence. Investigative analytics to look for entities between people, and case analytics, which is really all about performance and how teams work together. So all of these elements are now being used in the ECM world. And so I would like you to learn a little bit more about DataCap Inside Edition. I've got a link in here to a 2-minute YouTube video that'll give you a nice highlight about it, or you can read more on the DataCap website. I have been talking, too, about our conference, and this year it's called the IBM World of Watson. And it is the last week of October in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, and there's a link here to learn more about that as well. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I want to go back to Teresa, who has been gathering some questions for Harvey and myself. Teresa?
Most certainly. Thank you. We've been listening to David Janess of IBM, and before that, Harvey Spencer of Harvey Spencer Associates. And while David catches his breath, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things here where David mentioned the links about DataCap and then the World of Watson conference. Those links are actually available to you in the resource list to the right of the slide area. Feel free to click on that, and it'll open up the appropriate web pages, and you can check that out after the webinar. Also, if you download a PDF of the slides, these links are live links in that PDF document, so you can still access this afterwards and certainly get to that YouTube video. I looked at it. It was a really nifty little thing to watch, so highly encourage you to do that. And while we're talking about conferences, Harvey, you did mention your conference And I just wanted to give you a moment here to just go ahead and share with our audience a little bit about your Capture conference. A link to that is also in the resources list, but please go ahead and mention that.
That's very kind of you, Teresa. We're now in our 12th year of the Capture conference. What we try to do is we try to highlight technologies and areas that are going to be important or relevant to the capture industry. I always call it a sort of upside down conference because the audience is mostly product managers of vendors and CEOs of vendors and that sort of thing. And then we look for presentations by technology and solutions areas that where people are pushing the envelope. One thing we just signed up to was the blockchain discussion. Very, very topical today, front page of the Financial Times. Payment systems going to change dramatically under blockchain technology. IBM, again, has been a leader in pushing that capability. It's been fascinating me for some time. But obviously, if you go in the capture of payment-related information, how these systems are being set up to clear things more effectively, it has great impact on you. So that's the sort of thing we try to do. We look at augmented reality, we look at sentiment analysis, we look at language, we look at all sorts of things like that. So if anybody's interested, love to see you there.
That's fabulous. I know, Harvey, you get so excited when you talk about this this entire topic, and I know this is, obviously your life's work and your passion. So I am sure your conferences are just fantastic to be part of. I do want to jump over to the questions right now, and David, I just wanted to start the first question with you because with all of the examples that you were talking about, and for to connect these large organizations and the different branch offices and departments like that. Someone's asking about the availability of your capture products being available in the cloud, and if you could just talk a little bit about that briefly.
Well, absolutely. DataCap was introduced in January, early February this year. DataCap in the cloud, so you can build your capture applications. They live on the soft layer infrastructure that IBM hosts in about 42 different data centers. So your data residency can be where it is that you need it to be. And also DataCap Insight Edition is also available in the cloud. So it is a managed service, and it is something that we've seen a great deal of interest. A number of companies are deploying it now.
I think it's exciting, because you can do demand-based capture, can't you? Utilizing that in the sorts of way that I was talking about, with requiring collateral information to be understood there and then.
Yeah, well, cloud certainly is a shorthand for pay only what you use, and available on demand anywhere, anytime. So I think we're seeing a new era begin for capture with the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question that's come in, because we're working with large organizations with these comprehensive needs for not only capturing all the right information to make the business analysis and the business decisions, what type of ROI, the time it takes to see this, the return on the investment for this? Can you, David, with the customer use cases, can you share some examples or like average types of time or things like that just to factor in from the business analysis side of this?
I can. This has been a long-standing question. It's a very important question, and it's one that we've seen. As you talked about, I was with DataCap for 12 years before we were acquired by IBM, so I'm very aware of the capture of return on investment. And there was almost a rule of thumb that if a company wasn't going to be able to pay for its investment, to offset it by either headcount reduction or acceleration of processing by not adding more people, or any number of factors, if you weren't able to show an ROI within 12 months, you probably weren't going to get the deal. So I've seen ROI in 3 months. I've seen it in 9 months. Obviously that's going to depend on the scale and scope of the investment. But these are systems that pay for themselves very, very quickly.
Well, the staggering thing is that there's all this value add stuff, which is less tangible in a lot of ways, i.e. customer retention through better customer service, better customer understanding, new business from cross sales. So I don't think we talk enough about incremental revenue in these discussions. I see we have a number of people from universities, transcript processing. Automated transcript processing and letting you decide on which transfer students you can take more quickly. Those type of technologies, how do you measure the ROI on that?
I think something with that, Harvey, would come down to what are the business issues and challenges organizations are looking to solve for why they turn to these solutions in the first place. Would you say that would have an impact in calculating that ROI?
Yeah, it's all about less risk. It's all about better customer service. It's all about managing your your business faster and better, because the people who can understand things faster make better decisions. I was shocked at the statistics that IBM came up, which I put on the slide, of how people are making decisions without having half the information. It's the cost associated with that, of making wrong decisions because of a lack of information, is just huge.
Yes, yes. Well, just a couple of things I wanted to mention here. Just to let you all know that also I have a link in the resources list to what's next. AIM training can help. AIM provides a variety of different training programs. We have some specifically to capture ECM in general, other things like information governance, so many different areas. And just encourage you that if you're looking to educate your team, there are just many different ways that we can help you learn this information so that you can work and deal with these business decisions and to find the right solutions for your organization. So go to aim.org/training. There's a whole lot of variety of in-person, online, customized courses. There's a lot of ways that we can help you learn all of these different things that you need to know. And then also wanted to mention out to you that AIM is coming to in October, we're doing free one-day seminars, and it's talking about improving your paper-driven processes. It's a hot topic that's on everybody's minds right now. So if you're going to be in Washington D.C., New York City, or Toronto, Ontario in these days in October, I encourage you to register and stop by the seminar. But just to learn more about this event and what we have set out for you, just go to aim.org/seminars, and that'll give you a lot more information about what we're planning to do for you on those days. We are at the end of the webinar hour, and very much want to thank IBM for underwriting our webinar today. Without the support of our solution providers, we wouldn't be able to bring you these free educational programs. And I do also just want to remind everyone to check out that resources list, download the information that's in there. But also let you know that when the webinar is over, a brief survey is going to pop open on your desktop, and I greatly value your feedback, and I do want to hear from you. So would greatly appreciate it if you just take a few minutes to complete that survey and just let us know how we did today. You can also suggest future topics for us to cover in there as well. So just as we do come to the close of our webinar, I just want to ask each of our speakers for their closing thought or key takeaway. There are a lot of different ideas that we discussed today, so I'd like to begin first with Harvey Spencer for your closing thoughts today.
In the era of big data, there is a huge amount of unknown information which is hindering us from making good decisions in business. Capture software integrated into the business process understanding can help you dramatically improve that situation.
Thanks, Harvey. And David Janess of IBM, your closing thoughts today.
Well, I think it's a very interesting time. We've got a new generation of network intelligence that's sort of challenging our notions of what it means to think, and utilizing these technologies on documents is a new forefront, and it's really where the action is, and it's gonna. I think those companies that can take advantage of these of these analytics and these tools will show a better bottom line, and that's what it's all about.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Again, thank you, IBM, for your sponsorship of our webinar today. Thanks to Harvey Spencer and David Jeunesse for your time and expertise that you've shared with everyone. Everyone, for AIIM, this is Teresa Resick, and we will see you next time. And have a great day.